as I've kind of been philosophically proposing the idea that there's no such thing as equality, I would like to suggest that there's also no such thing as racism. I don't think that's a thing. And some people might be surprised to hear that. For me, I've been running with that for a couple of years now, and I'm pretty certain it's not a thing. Certainly not in my world, it's not a thing. So even when good people talk about like stamping out racism, it sounds like a good idea. I understand what they mean. But again, it's not what you think it is. What it's really for is not to bring social fairness and equity amongst different groups and creeds, but is to erase tribal heritage on all sides, everyone, to terminate thousands of years of what I call blood wisdom. In Europe, America, Africa, Brazil, wherever, Hawaii, Asia, it doesn't matter, everywhere, to remove that organic human culture of shared ancestry and replace it with groundless, imperial, synthetic groups, right? Not real. Nothing to do with stamping out racism. So they get people who are ignorant, who mean well, and just use them, exploit them. Because you can't stamp out what isn't there. So, like I say, racism appears to be, we know this, the idea that we should not treat people badly based on colour or creed, of course. Right. Okay, who wouldn't agree with that? It's common sense, of course. We all know that's stupid, right? But that isn't what racism really is. Racism, to me, is an invented thing, an invented crime that can be levelled at anybody who expresses preference for culture, heritage, appearance, mannerism, skill, capability, or whatever. And the word racism did not exist prior to 1900. Nothing in the 1828 Webster's, nothing in the 1880 English dictionaries, nothing. So what was the word invented for? It certainly wasn't to protect people or society. None of these things ever are. The idea of racism instructs people to believe that preferring one tribal expression over another is wrong. And what people should do instead is adopt this collectivist view that everyone is the same. All cultures are of equal relevance and worth, which to me is stupid, preposterous. Many cultures are awful. Many are marvellous. Some creeds are violent. Some are more intelligent. We all see that. Travel the world and you'll see some things are better than others. Better for you personally. Better for you yourself. And individually, we're allowed to make that call. You can formulate that judgment if you want. So whilst other races and cultures may have the same sort of ultimate human potential to achieve excellence and harmony and grace by their own hand, they are nevertheless, of course, totally unequal and dissimilar, with wildly conflicting levels of refinement and soul and spirit. That's for the individual to decide themselves. It's every individual's prerogative to decide if a person or a culture or a group or a form of human expression meets your standards of morality and growth. If it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. So let me say it think of it like this. Consider that at a certain stage of inner development, people will prefer their own kind, right? People who share, they'll prefer people who have their own sort of customs like theirs, their own outlook, same values, same protocols, same history. And I think that's natural, especially if your culture has achieved great equilibrium and quality. And so those sort of people might not even want to have much to do with people foreign to their lands. They might not, okay? And then as people expand their consciousness, deepen it, and grow and travel more and develop new experiences of culture and different modes of being, then they might begin to see that other races also have wonderful things. And, your own inner developmental state progresses, right? And you might start to enjoy the words and the images and the art and the social expression from races you've never heard of, never dreamed of. Nothing like you, but you love it. Even though you might still retain your natural inclination to uphold and honour the cultural expression of your own tribe, right? You can do both. Up to you. No racism involved anywhere in this equation. No such thing. There is ignorance in the heart of the individual for sure, but deep down, when I look at it, I feel that no one truly commits violence based on race. They do it on cultural differences which they fear. They act from pain. It's stupidity. and provincialism that is the crime, right? And that's hugely different. So, also we all know that some places do very well with racial diversity and some don't. Same all over. You can't force people to grow. So some places have an overwhelming majority of one race. Okay, no problem. That might naturally be the way it is. They like it that way. Good. No crime. No need for diversity, right? So imperial diversity designed to kill all races. That's what it's for. And there are some cities that are heavily mixed, like New York or London, and go there and see for yourself, gauge whether you think that works for you or not. Some people love it. Some people don't like it. That's an individual preference. And you can make an assessment on that yourself, and you'll see that natural mixing works in some places and not in others. Different people at different stages of development. So nowhere in any of that do I see racism. I just see stages of preference from inner developmental stages. You understand that initially, if somebody's not seen something, they might be wary of it because they live in a little provincial town and they don't get it. That's not racism. That's nothing to do with it. It doesn't come into it. That's an invented crime. It's not a thing. So if you start to remove that from it, like as the same with gun violence, there's no such thing. There's just violence, right? And with racism, what you're talking about is preference, and preference based on individual development. So somebody who's highly developed will have sophisticated preferences where they'll say, well, I love cultures like I do myself from all over. And many of my friends from all different, especially living in the States and coming from England, I have more natural diversity in my social circle than most people can believe or imagine. And it works because I've worked on my development. So I learn so much. It's incredible, and it works really, really well. But I've worked on that, worked on it. I know some other people who haven't done that, who live in very traditional ways, who prefer their own kind. To me, that is not racism. That's preference. Completely acceptable and okay. None of those people I have ever seen have any ill will or violence to anybody outside of that. It's just preference. The only people doing violence do violence anyway. They have violence in the heart. So, like I say, if we take the imperial definition of racism, you can level it at anybody who shows preference for tribe or heritage or social expression. I would be, you would be, your friends and family would be, my friends and family would be. It's totally arbitrary. And anyone they don't like who shows any preference, they're a racist. So again, they're trying to remove choice and judgment and preference. And it's just a con. It's just a massive con. It doesn't exist.